So this is a paid video, and so I'm going to read out the questions first before I respond. So, good morning, Lion King. I need your opinion on this. My car shows, uh, my car shows oil, and there are no visible leaks underneath. I've been told the rings are worn. As I'm against re-ringing my mechanic has advised I should buy a carcass engine, and he will build up a new engine. I don't know the efficacy of that approach in the long term. My second option is buying a Belgian engine. My line is a Peugeot 307 Phase 1 TU5JP4 engine, manual transmission. So, number one, what's your opinion on building an engine and getting a Belgian engine? Can I have a TU6 or an EW10J4 engine successfully installed and get it unrestricted performance value? Are there any pointers from your experience I should know of? I would appreciate your candid opinion and advice. Okay, so I'll just go straight to your first question. Uh, Said, what's your opinion on building an engine and getting a Belgian one? Okay, so you see, it depends on what you actually mean by building an engine, because most times Nigerians majority, not just the mechanics, they usually consider changing only the piston rings as engine rebuild. So that's why sometimes it can be difficult to understand what people mean by engine, building an engine or rebuilding an engine. For example, where I said the mechanic advised you should buy carcass engine and he will build up a new engine. Honestly, not sure I understand what you mean by that carcass engine. I have idea, but I can't be quite certain that's what you meant. But then, if the advice from your mechanic is to buy rings, probably with the head gasket, and then change, then my recommendation is don't. Now let's try in a different way. When engine starts to wear out faster, you usually start from the cylinders, which is the piston, the rings, the cylinder walls, or this piston liners, also known as piston sleeves. Um, yeah, that's where it usually show its sign, depending on the extent of the damage or the wearing out. Because for example, in fact, it usually start from there. Even if you use a bad oil or something, it will also affect that part of the engine. So now, if your engine starts to short oil, or you observe that your oil level has started dropping than the usual, if you catch it early, if you change only the rings, the issue will go away. Now, let's put it in another way that people won't get confused what I'm trying to say. Engine oil, no matter how new your engine is, engine oil in an engine is supposed to burn off a little. You are expected, or the oil is expected to drop lower than it was when you first put it fresh. You change engine oil, put it fresh. Peugeot says like 10,000 kilometers or 10 months, or depending which one comes first, or depending on your country, some they will advise 24 months, this and that. So before it gets to that point where oil is due for change, the oil is supposed to reduce. Yes, oil is supposed to reduce. As the pistons are moving up and down gradually, all those things, yeah, oil will be seeping in just a little, but not enough to cause any problem or enough to, in other words, it may take about 2,000 to 5,000 kilometer usage before the need for you to top up the oil. Now, it could take, depending on how long it takes to cover that mileage. It could be 5 months before you need to top up. Like I say, it all depends. It's the mileage that now matters now, not the duration, months. So, if at every 2,000, or let's just say 1,500 kilometers, that's when you top up the oil, at least like half a liter. Then I don't think there's any need for you to start doing any rebuild. That's it. The reason why I'm saying that is, if truly you follow the recommendation from Peugeot that, use your car for 10 months or 12 months or 10,000 kilometers before you change the oil, and probably on your 8th month or 7th month or 6th month or 5,000 kilometers or even 1,500 kilometers or 2,000, now realize that, it has dropped just a little from where you saw it last. Don't go and waste your money. That's the normal oil consumption. Every engine is supposed to consume oil a little, as long as it's moving. The stuff inside are moving without even any leakage. But if what you're saying is probably like every 500 kilometers, wow, or even less than 500 kilometers, or more than a liter has gone off from the engine without any leakage. That's probably what I mean is probably from the some top up their oil up to maximum mark, which I advise against. But let's assume you left it at maximum mark on the dipstick, and within 200 to 500 kilometers, it has already started going below the minimum mark, and there's no physical sign of oil leakage on the engine or visible leak. Then, yes, your engine has started burning oil drastically. As in, most times, once you get to that stage, you look at the tailpipe when you accelerate, or even while at idle, you will see whitish, bluish smoke coming out. Especially when the engine is hot, not when it's cold, because some people can mistake it for normal steam that the exhaust brings out when the weather is very cold or when the engine is still cold. So if you press your throttle a little bit, maybe to 2,000 or 3,000, and you see bluish smoke, whitey smoke, it can be confusing. Some will complain that whitey smoke means overheating. Well, hear me out. Sometimes it has nothing to do with water. Depending on how bad or mild the oil burn is, it can produce bluish or a little bit whitish smoke. So once, if you do press the throttle and it's huge smoke coming out, then in that case, changing the rings will no longer save the situation. I want to explain everything. I know it's supposed to be yes or no answer, but I want you to understand why, so that whichever option you now choose, okay, you know what you are going in for. You made that choice, and it's good for you. The other engines have what we call piston sleeves, independent of the engine block. Where the pistons and the rings moves up and down through. While this newer engine now, in other words, I could say the sleeves are now integrated or permanently attached, or you could say it's now part of the engine block, so you can't detach them anymore. So those of us that say about 505, 504, and the rest, if your engine start burning oil, is the changing engine is the worst mistake to make. Or in other words, it may not be a worst mistake. It's like you are just wasting your money. because as long as it hasn't affected every other part of the engine, it's just that it's burning oil. So the best thing to do is just buy complete piston with the sleeve or piston liners. That's what we call either sleeve or piston liner with that with the original rings. Every of these three things must be original. Swap him, then the issue goes away. Right away, the oil burn, everything goes. But now, when your engine starts to burn oil, most times it won't produce smoke at the back. Like I said, in that case, if you change the rings, you are likely going to save, or the issue will go away. But in that, it could be only the rings that have worn. The pieces are still intact. But if they have start shorting and it becomes so drastic that you still keep using it, that what will now happen is the rings will wear off faster. Then it will also start affecting the pistons. Then the cylinder walls. Because remember, in your case, this is TU5JP4. There is no sleeve or independent piston liner on that engine. So the cylinder wall is part of the, or let's just put it in a simpler way, even though it's not the right term. The sleeve, the piston sleeve is now part of the engine block, so you can't detach it. So once it have worn, it's gone. The block is gone. Now, what most people do, depending on how technical the person is or the repairer is they could widen it, the cylinder wall. They could widen it so that the four cylinders will still have the same circumference. Then they will now get thicker rings and probably the pistons and put wider rings, not necessarily thicker, wider rings, so that it will occupy that space, more space is created in or on the cylinder wall. But the ideal thing is change the block. You change the engine block. So in other words, change the engine block means it's now up to you to know how you identify, because you probably may not be able to find brand new cylinder engine block, because that's the actual thing, the easiest way to go about it. How will you identify a used cylinder block that the piston liners have not worn? Your own may even be better. Of course, there are tools you can use to do the gauging, to gauge if it has worn or not. Sometimes you can use your finger, but it won't be accurate. So say, if it has worn, that side the piston moves, you find that it will be a little bit deeper inside than, in fact, the best is just use the tool gauge or the test tool to measure, to know. So all these things, as I say, once you start blowing blue smoke, it has gone beyond the rings. Just changing the rings is like I call it palliative. It's not even palliative. It's like you just maybe for about a month or two, you feel that I've gotten it. Most times it will not come back worse. So if you truly want to rebuild your engine, you have to consider all these things I'm saying, knowing that rings may not be enough anymore, unless maybe it takes too long before the need for you to top up, and when you are saying you don't actually see smoke. In that case, yeah, you can change only the rings, original one, and still the engine will come back to normal. The oil consumption will go away, and look as if nothing ever happened. However, when it comes to this oil burn, there's some other things I also consider, especially in Nigeria. Because what usually causes this cylinder weakness or rapid wear is because of like the coolant engine cooling system, the abuse people do in Nigeria on this their Peugeot engine cooling system, and like the engine type of oil, engine oil or oil weight they use. So if that is the case, you find out that these things could cause the rapid wear of the cylinders, the pistons, the rings, the cylinder walls, and also increase rapid wear, or also do the same harm to the crankshaft bearing, the camshaft. So changing only the rings in that case will even solve your problem. Yes, it may reduce the oil burn and all those things, but your engine power is also gone. and the other issues are still there. You know, the noise, the everything. You find out that even after doing that, you can't actually, if you, or sometimes if you try to push your engine too hard, you start hearing one kind of weird noise, because the same that the camshaft have also been half affected, the bearing too, the camshaft too, and probably one or two other things. Or maybe your oil pump is already also weak a little. Sometimes when people, after changing the rings, they start getting oil pressure warning. Because yeah, you fix this or that, this part because that has to do with combustion. But then the engine won't be able to power, handle it anymore, because the other parts are also weak. So this one is now like excessive, it becomes like it's too much for them to handle. Remember, they all worn out at the same time, so it may not show you all this warning. But when you now go and fix one part, it will even, because that part will now demand more work from these other ones that are weak. They start giving you all kinds of warning. Oil pressure insufficient, or your oil light to stay permanently, all those stuff. So rebuilding engine takes, you have to pieces your engine, look at all those things to know the ones that are bad and not bad. So rebuild, to do it properly, usually costs like 2 3 times or more than buying a good used engine. So that's where I'm coming. So I'm not saying changing the rings will not solve your problem, but I'm saying if it has gotten that bad, don't even bother. If you're not using original parts to rebuild your engine, don't even bother. Better risk a used engine. Doesn't mean the used engines, they are all perfect or they are all in good shape. No, there are times you buy a used engine like one we call Tokumbo engine, falling used. It may even be worse than the one you remove. But the thing there, it depends on the agreement you had with the seller, whoever you bought that engine with. That when you test the engine, start, if it's bad, you show yourself, depending on whoever did the installation for you. You can return it back. Depending on, you get a good one. So that's the thing. You can't tell from appearance how good an engine is until you run it. You know, that's the truth. You can mount it, do your compression test, all those things before you decide. But like I said, you need to run the engine. There are times back then in the 504 days, you can actually test a strength of engine on the ground without even mounting it. Even where they sell it, they will start it right there on the ground. But now, because of all this complexity with electronic control of the engine, so it won't be that easy to be able to start the car. Though people do it too, but these are highly trained or technical people, mostly outside Nigeria. They've already done the wiring connection off on the engine of the vehicle with the ECU, everything, start it, it will run. You can do your compression test right there and do every other check. But like I said, used engine comes with its own risk. But if you get a good one, it will serve you much better than this crap people do by changing only the rings with dead cylinder walls or worn out pistons, expecting the engine to still serve you. It won't. So I know this number one is taking too long to respond to, but I need to clear it out so that people will actually understand, know that okay, I have to go for use because it's better. Now when it comes to engine, this one we call Belgian engine, Tokumbo engine, or used engine. Understand that the engine is actually that thing we call skeleton. Probably that's what you meant by carcass. The skeleton without all these accessories. That's actually the engine. Engine is not with the alternator, compressor, starter, ignition coil, this and that. No, those are accessories. Those of us who have purchased new engine or get involved in purchasing new engine or seen one as a brand new, I'm not talking about this thing. They just come just that skeleton you see. No, you won't see any attachment on them. No compressor, no alternator, no this, no intake man, not even intake manifold. All those things you won't see them. So now when it comes to buying, sometimes back then I would tell people buy complete. When I mean complete, I mean with those attached accessories, because it will save you more money. Back then, like for example, your engine, let's assume the complete will cost maybe about 110,000 with all those attached, that TU5JP4. While the engine itself, that's the skeleton. So I will make it easier so that I won't get confused. The complete means all those accessories attached. The skeleton means only just that engine. So the skeleton in this case, the complete, they may say 110, the skeleton 90,000 or thereabout, or 80, 85. So we now realize it make more sense to buy the complete, considering all those things attached that may cost you more than 50,000 or even close to that same 100,000 if you want to buy them individually. So it makes sense to buy complete. You can remove the one from your old engine and keep as spares, or swap back the one from the old engine and put on the new one. Then remove the recently purchased accessory on the engine, keep them as spares. Eventually, these parts will be failing gradually. You can be swapping in, or you can later decide to sell them separately and recover some money. So it makes sense to buy complete. But now, since this COVID thing, you now find out that sometimes it may even be cheaper to just buy only the skeleton, because now the margin is high. Let's assume your engine TU5JP4, the skeleton is 120. I'm not saying I know that's the price, but I'm saying let's assume the skeleton is 120. Now the complete, they may be telling you 200, 210. So you find a difference of 70, 80,000. So in which at that time you don't even need all those parts that they are also charging you to pay to get the complete. So it may be cheaper to just buy the skeleton. So in that case, it will make more sense to buy skeleton than going for that rebuild. For example, to actually properly rebuild your engine, let's assume it has affected other things. Come on, you are going to spend over 200,000. That's if they even get it right, or be able to find it. I mean, you have to consider the pastings, the bearings, the this and that. I mean, so it makes sense just buy the skeleton, swap back the what is still good on the old one, the accessories, and move on. You know. So that my response to your first question, which I believe is the main reason for this video or your questions. Okay, now to the second one, can I have a TU6 or EW10 engine successfully installed and get it on the seat? This number two question, this TUC, they are nothing like TU6 engine. I don't know where you got that information. Doesn't exist as far as Peugeot engines are concerned. The TU engine stopped at TU5. TU series stop at TU5. So I'm not sure I know what you mean by TU6. So especially for the 307, you have TU5JP4, TU3JP, which is even smaller than you. Since you want performance, so you shouldn't even go there, because that one is much smaller with lesser power. You have EW10J4, which is 2.0, more powerful than your TU5JP4. And then we also have EW10A, which is also 2.0. Then we also have the most powerful of them, which is EW10J4S. So, okay, let's work with the EW10 that you talk about, which is the EW10J4. I assume that's the one you mean. Is it possible to swap it or install it on your car with either TU5JP4 engine? Yes. However, the cost of doing this conversion may cost you almost the same amount of buying a full factory Peugeot 307 with this EW10J4 engine, because it's not just the engine that you are removing to work with EW10J4. So many things. Your radiator has to be changed. The EW10J radiator is different. The gearbox has to be changed. EW10J4 gearbox is different. The clutch kits, they are different. The CV joints, complete, they are different. The engine mounts, the gearbox mounts, they are different. The exhaust, they are different. You see, okay, before I even go, the engine wiring harness, they are different. The engine ECUs, they are different. The dashboard wire, they are different. That's what I mean. The wire that comes from the inside the vehicle cabin to the engine bay, they are not the same. So in other words, you are changing every single wire you see on that car. You have to remove them and put that of EW10J4 before the engine can start and work normal. So are you willing to start buying those things individually to be able to run EW10J4 on already factory produced 307 with TU5JP4? Another way you can actually do it to make it easier but not necessarily cheaper is to buy a donor 307 with that engine. That is the one they already produce, maybe an accidented car or the one they want to scrap. Not necessarily that you are going to get everything there is going to serve you on your own car. That serve you means they will still be good. But what it means is it will save you the stress going to market looking for every pin. All this, the parts I mentioned are just the major one. There are some things probably that are not, I can't, right now in my head, they are not there on my mental list. That once you start, or if I sit down, I'll start remembering. Or once you start the conversion, now you're like, oh, this particular one won't match. Oh, this one won't match. This won't match. So all those things will be eliminated by getting a donor car and elsewhere. Then you now still go and buy the major parts. For example, if they are scrapping a car, it means the engine probably is weak or dead already. Or the transmission is out. Maybe you may find one with automatic and what you want is manual. So you're not going to use that gearbox. You have to still go and buy manual gearbox with the clutch key. So if you want to do this kind of conversion, you have to know what it takes. These are the implications: financial cost and the rest. Emotional stress too, because it can take a lot. People always come to me, you did this so conversion, I want you to do same to mine. But when I tell them what it will cost, if they want me to do it for them, some will abuse me and run away. Some will tell me, what do you mean? How can you spend such a amount of money on this kind of car? Or why? It doesn't even make sense to simply go and buy another one. You understand that we're all different. Just because some people you can drive from A to B doesn't mean our interests in cars are the same. Some of us are hardcore, as we do it not necessarily because it's cheaper or it's wiser. We do it just for the passion of doing it. We enjoy doing this kind of thing. So when we are spending, we are not spending because it's cheaper to convert rather than buy another one, or it's cheaper to modify a car to this. We do it because we actually enjoy doing it, knowing that the end result is going to be more awesome, irrespective of all the stress and the financial strain that it took to get all these things done. Most times, it's cheaper to just go and buy a car of that model with all those, the engine, the transmission you want, if they actually produce them. So it's cheaper to buy than doing the conversion. So when we do some of these things, probably because the car is completely clean, it's very clean, so we don't want to lose it. So we are rather going into another one that may not, decide to spend, or just that we have attachment emotionally or to that particular vehicle. So we decide to modify it, whatever it costs, to make it work the way we want or be as we want it. Not only that, see, most times we do it because if the idea of doing it is even more exhilarating, has more interesting, it makes us happy that we can do this. You see, the thought most times it's just that I can do this. You just go ahead and do it, irrespective of what it costs. that inner satisfaction cut across every other thing you can ever imagine, that you were able to achieve this that may appear difficult to a lot of people, or may cause some people will form their faith considering the cost it will take. So that's when when it comes to this kind of conversions, is they are not cheap, you know. So that's why I'm explaining this to you. It may be easier if you truly want it, go and buy 307 with this engine, or get a donor one. Look for one that is with that engine from factory. Check to be sure the wires are okay, because if the wires have been messed up, it can be messed up and can still be reversed and put in good condition before you now put in your the project car. But if they mess it so badly, there's no point buying the car. So that's in fact the most important thing you have to check, because it's that wire that controls the entire thing, you know. Because to say, okay, let me go and buy wire they've already built, it may be difficult to find it. If you find, you know, it could also have issues. So getting a donor car, you take your time, depending on whoever will do it. So the idea of TU6 is off, unless you meant a different engine that you didn't mention, but I mentioned all the engines. For example, even the ECUs, they are not the same. The EW10J4 engine ECU is, the brand is Magnetic Marale, but that of the TU5JP4, the current engine is your car, I think it's Bosch, either Bosch or Sagem, I think it's Bosch. So they are not the same. The wiring, everything. So just, it won't make sense. Just forget that project. All you are willing to spend, and I mean spending almost the same amount of buying a good working 307 with this engine and the transmission you want. So you need to understand that. Are there any pointers from your experience I should know of? I think I've explained this number 3 question and these other two, the 2 questions above. So my opinion, the last question you asked, and advice. You can fix your TU5JP4 by either you replace it with good one and sell it off and buy 307 with the engine you want, you prefer, because I can see you want more performance from the 307. So you can sell, or you can sell it with the weakness of the engine, add more money. Of course, it will reduce the value, you know, if you don't want to go to changing the engine to sell, you know. So you look for more money or buy, or you can replace, fix, and keep using it, depending when you can buy another one. You see, so that's how I see it, you know. That's just it. So I don't think I have any other thing to add. So simply go and get another engine, unless the oil has not started, the engine hasn't started bringing out blue smoke. And also consider the power. When you accelerate the car, does it give one kind of sound like grinding, or, you know, to tell you that it's not just the rings anymore. Probably other rotating parts in the engine have also gone. So what's the point changing only the rings? Can I so you just get another engine? Okay, I think that's all my advice for this.